told you that 1 out of every 5 children in the United States lived in poverty. 1 in 5. 46 million people live in poverty in the United States. 1/3 of them are children. That's 16 million children and teenagers who wonder where their next meal's coming from, who can't see in school because they can't afford the eyeglasses, who don't know where to turn to build the skills necessary to obtain their full potential. Here in Texas, over 3.6 million individuals live in poverty, enough to fill AT&T Stadium 46 times over. The scale of that problem can sound overwhelming. We heard much about it. But what can one person, one community, one organization do to just make a dent in this? To start with, we can't be content with the same old way of doing business. We know that 50 years after Lyndon Johnson announced a war on poverty, many of the same systems are still in place. Approaches developed in the age of carbon paper, remember carbon paper? Are now being used in the era of iPads. As a nonprofit organization committed to eradicating the challenges facing those in need, Catholic Charities is in a unique position. We have the flexibility to pioneer new solutions in a way that government or even for-profit businesses could never do. We need to set goals that inspire, goals that challenge. Our challenge is to be in the forefront of trailblazing new approaches and building a renewed commitment to doing whatever it takes to help families get out of poverty. It's time to think anew. Some might wonder, why would Catholic Charities care about developing innovative approaches? My goodness, for the last 100 years, we've been running soup kitchens, thrift stores, affordable housing. These are all good things. But with 46 million Americans in poverty, this simple fact is that we cannot settle again for the status quo. Pope Francis, who's spoken so eloquently about our responsibility to accompany those in need, have called us to leave aside the old structures and find new ways of being the hands of Christ, reaching out to those in need. The truth is, for the past 2,000 years, the Catholic community has been feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, welcoming the stranger. In each person and family in need, we see the image of Christ. Ignoring their needs is ignoring Christ in our midst. For St. Anthony of Padua, a 13th century doctor of the church and the patron of the poor, for him, for those living in poverty were to be loved and cared for because Jesus Christ himself was made poor, born as a homeless baby in Bethlehem. St. Anthony's example of humility is one that drives and inspires us to meet people where they are and see in them the very face of Christ himself. Recognizing the human dignity of each individual we serve means treating everyone who comes to us as a person with a unique set of skills and barriers keeping them from achieving their full potential. In comprehensive case management, we understand and holistically address each individual's needs and walk with them on their own unique path towards self-sufficiency. My own organization, Catholic Charities USA, works with elected officials in Washington, D.C. to lift up the success stories and the challenges faced by our agencies and local communities, like here in Fort Worth. One thing we hear over and over again in our meetings on Capitol Hill is, where can our investments get the most bang for our buck? In the corporate sector, top companies spend billions of dollars on research and development to hone a product's effectiveness and develop efficient ways of delivering services. With nearly 90 cents on every dollar we collect as Catholic Charities going directly to individual clients' needs, we don't have that kind of luxury. In an environment in which federal spending limits are limited, there is an understandable desire to ensure that each dollar is being put where it's most effective. In order to invest in what works, however, we have to know what works. Why us? Why now? Individuals and families living in poverty already face a lot of barriers. They disproportionately live in neighborhoods that don't provide them with the education, healthcare, or social supports they need to break the cycle of poverty. Their families can't often provide the skills or resources they need to achieve their potential. And nowadays, they're often treated as political punching bags, stuck in a system that punishes them for their choices while not providing them the tools they need to make good decisions. In response, the current system offers solutions developed 50 years ago, programs that don't talk to each other and treat each person in isolation, with regressive and punitive approaches that prevent families from building their assets or living in a community. It's time for a new conversation, a new approach. Comprehensive case management can break down the silos that come from a piecemeal approach to ending poverty and address each component of what is preventing families in need from reaching their goals in a way that works in concert with their strengths and their resources. Need transportation? We'll help you find a car. Not sure where to find a job? Come on over. We'll help you with your resume and find classes for you. We can't help 46 million people move out of poverty tonight or overnight. We have to start with entering into a relationship with one family at a time. We need leaders willing to blaze a new trail and do whatever it takes to accompany families out of poverty. We need people willing to take a risk, pursue a holistic commitment to supporting families in light of their authentic human dignity and help them realize their full potential. 46 million Americans in poverty, that's an incredible challenge. But I know right now we can take the first step. Thank you.